Welcome into this week's edition of the Co-Lin Coaches Show. We hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving, and thanks for tuning in this week. Joining me now is head football coach Glenn Davis. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Glad to be here.
And Coach, let me be the first one to congratulate you on the MACCC South Coach of the Year award after just a stellar season and just a great output from your guys the whole year.
No doubt. I mean, you have to have good players and really good coaches to get those honors, and it's just as much theirs as it is mine.
Also want to mention we had 19 spots on the All-MACC South list this year between the first team, second team, and honorable mention. 18 players, 19 spots. Wolves also had the South Offensive and Defensive Players of the Year in Johnny Daniels and Billy Pullen. But Coach, we'll get back to the final game of the 2023 kind of regular and postseason. We know we've got one left. We'll talk about that one a little bit later. But unfortunately, you go over on the conference championship, the MACCC Championship. You go over to Scuba, have to play a team you played at the start of the year, and you came up just a little bit short. Fell 27-20, and I think what many people would call an instant classic, just like the start of the year. Just talk about how you felt about the game.
Well, I thought it was a game that we played good in spurts, and there was some plays there that I obviously wish we'd had back, and plays that we didn't make during the game that we had been making all year, and regardless, really proud of how hard the kids played, and sometimes winning and losing, it's just a little bit sometimes, and that's, we just kind of came up on the short end.
Coach, obviously, we'll talk about our impact players like we always do, and every week we talk about him. It's Devon Todd. It starts with him, and he was 11 of 22 for 150 yards through the air, had one touchdown, had 10 rushes and 29 yards, and I felt like he did a really good job of just taking care of the ball and being as efficient as he could be throughout most of the game.
Yeah, I mean, Devon, he played hurt. He was banged up in the game. He had an abdomen or strain in the stomach, and sometimes when in certain directions he'd throw, you could tell it was kind of affected him a little bit. The ball would come out high, and but other than that, he competed his tail off, and that's something he's done all year long, and we wouldn't be where we're at without him, and like I say, I know he'd love to have played a little better, completed a few more passes, and those kind of things, but proud of how hard he competed.
And Coach, obviously, the next one is another guy we've talked about all year, Johnny Daniels. Just another superb game. Didn't find the end zone on the ground attack for the first time in about 4 weeks, but he was your leading rusher and receiver. Had 22 carries for 135 yards on the ground. Did find the end zone through the air where he had 3 receptions, 52 yards, and a touchdown. Just talk about Johnny and his performance. It kind of felt like throughout that game there were a 2 or 3 times, maybe more, where just an inch more on a missed tackle, and he would have broken several for touchdowns.
It really was. I mean, he was really close, and if we'd stayed on the block a little longer here or there, or if we just run through an arm tackle, or he played really well, and he's another one that week in, week out has gotten better as the season's gone on, and then he played really well for us.
Another running back that we've talked sporadically about through this year, but I feel like he's really showing people what he's going to be capable of, going into this last game and even into the future. Trey Minor, 6 carries, 45 yards, but it felt like every carry of his was huge. He also had the touchdown, got the scoring started for you. Talk about the play of Trey for the whole game.
Yeah, I mean, Trey's played well. I mean, he's gotten better and better, and I think he'll tell you there's things that, about college football have opened his eyes up some, and in things that he's had to learn to do that he hadn't been maybe expected to do in high school. And we're tickled to death Trey's here, and like I say, he's played well, and he played really good the other night and give Johnny a blow here and there, and made some big runs on some first down carries. And like I say, we're tickled to death how hard he played too.
Your defense had another solid game. Unfortunately, gave up 2 long passes at the end. We'll talk about those a little bit later. But as a unit, defense had 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, and an interception. And Dedrick Hicks led the way. He had 6 tackles. Another guy that really stood out on the defense was Caden Dukes. Caden had 3 tackles, but had a huge interception that really kind of stopped some momentum there. Just talk about the way both of them played.
Yeah, I mean, both of those guys are effort guys, and Dedrick has gotten better and better, and Cade's played well, and this it was a big game defensively, and like I say, those 2 plays, there's a lot of plays in games that if you go back and look, you can't say one won or lost the game here or there. Usually there's more than one game that could have possibly tilted the game, earlier in the game. We could have had plays.
I think another important player for you was Brandon Gillum. Gillum, 2 field goals, 2 extra points, had a really good night a good day punting the ball, had 2 punts go within the 20-yard line, and was really solid in the kickoff game as well, too.
Yeah, Brandon's done well all year. He's been really consistent, and we were glad he came to Co-Lin.
So we'll get to the scoring summary, and you got off to a little bit, you don't want to say slow start, but it kind of seemed like both teams were really kind of filling each other out. And unfortunately, near the end of the first quarter, Wolves get on the board first. It's Trey Minor with that 6-yard rush, capped off a 14-play, 91-yard drive, and you're up 7-0 with 18 seconds left. So kind of going into out of the end of the first quarter, you're going to be up by a touchdown. Talk about that play and just kind of how it kind of helped seize momentum at that point.
Well, the big thing that started the game, the win was mighty big factor in the game, going toward away from their scoreboard, and so we took the win early, and we were able to get up, and probably was another drive there where we had a chance to get some points that we just didn't convert on third down, but the first quarter, being up 7-0, that's kind of where we wanted to be. We'd love to have been more, but, we were ahead.
And then in the second quarter, you go up early. This is where Caden Dukes intercepted the ball, set up a drive, and it ends with a 22-yard field goal out of Brandon. I think you had maybe an offsides penalty or something like that to kind of start out the drive deep into the territory. But you're up 10-0 with 10:15 left, and you're really feeling like you're really cooking. Everything's really going your way with a 10-0 lead after that drive. Talk about how you're feeling with that kind of a lead.
I thought we had controlled the game and both sides of the ball. Like I say, the field goals are great. And to win big ball games like that, you've got to score touchdowns, and that's probably the difference in the game.
And then East Miss kicks back-to-back field goals on back-to-back possessions to end at the half. You're up 10-6 at halftime. What's the message going into the halftime with guys? You've got 30 more minutes, and these guys are not going to back down. But what's the message you give to the players?
Well, we just, we hadn't played our best half, and we could go out and execute, and we had pretty much had done that in every ball game this year. We'd played better in the second half, and that was just one of those things. At the end of the game, we kind of ran out of time.
And the third quarter, it's really much like the first quarter, back and forth, and neither offense really being able to find their groove. Defense is really stepping up. Unfortunately, this is where East Miss took the lead on a rushing touchdown. 9 seconds left in the third quarter. They're up 13-10. But I think one thing you'd love to see is the fact that guys did respond. Next drive ends up ultimately with a field goal, 33-yard field goal. It's tied 13-13 with 12:23 left. And it really feels at this point we might be headed towards a similar finish to what we saw at the start of the year.
Well, I think that's kind of the way it was. It was a one-possession game, and when we get the ball back, with a minute something to go, or taking the ball down the field and have a chance to tie it. And but there's so many opportunities in the game. The third quarter wasn't a great third quarter for us. We had 3 straight 3-and-outs, and some of that was the wind playing a factor in that. And then as the day goes on there, the sun gets lower, and we had a couple balls that we had thrown to receivers, and they lost in the sun. And, just part of those things at home field, you kind of learn to throw the ball toward their bleachers and things that you'll remember down the road.
And then in the fourth quarter, it's tied again 13-13. East Miss takes the lead with a 42-yard pass. But again, you see the guys just not give up. You go down and you score. Devon hits Johnny Daniels on just a little 7-yard touchdown completion. That ties it at 20-20 with 2:26 left. And again, you're very similar. You're pretty much in the same spot you were at the start of the year. They have the ball, and you need to stop to maybe see if you can force a game-winning touchdown. Unfortunately, they get a 79-yard touchdown pass, but you still have a minute and a half left. Knowing that you have a minute and a half left and knowing you've had some success in the drive before, how do you feel going into that last drive?
Yeah, I felt good. That's the thing I know about our kids is how hard they compete, and it wasn't going to be over with until the final horn went off, and I think they showed that in that drive, and Johnny's trying to score, and they just made a good play, and they wound up recovering. The officials pointed that direction in recovery, but like I say, the kids played hard, and they never gave up, and can't say enough good things about him from that perspective.
And as Coach just alluded to, last drive ends, unfortunately, in a fumble on a pass completion from Devon to Johnny. Kid from East Miss just got behind Johnny and punched the ball out, and unfortunately they recovered and they were able to seal that win. But overall, you finish 9-2. You get a share of the MACC South Division Championship. Coach, just your thoughts about the overall season as we head into this final game that we're going to talk about soon.
Well, I mean, the kids played, and a lot of credit goes to them about how hard, and everybody, you win the games you have to win down the stretch in the South Division to, actually win the tiebreaker to be the South Division champ, and this group of sophomores has done a lot for the program, and tickled the guys that made commitments to come back after. They could have went on somewhere else and gave us, a few guys that were third-year guys, and even some of the guys that were sophomores had opportunities, and they decided to come back because they thought, felt like there was more out there for them here, and really proud of them for that.
And, Coach, obviously, as we've alluded to, you're not done just yet. You've got one more game left. We did get an invite to a bowl game. We're going to the Champs Heart of Texas Bowl over in Commerce, Texas. That'll be this upcoming Saturday at noon. We're going to face off against a team that I would speculate a lot of Mississippi folks may not know about them. They probably know the name but may not know much about them. That's Navarro College, the Bulldogs out of Navarro. What can you tell us about that group, and what should we expect Saturday?
Well, I mean, they've had a great year. They got beat in their playoffs over there, and I think they finished 6-4, but they won like 5 out of the last 6 games to kind of get themselves in the playoffs. Kind of like our situation of having a win down the stretch, and they're air raid offense, and they're a 3-3 stack defensive team, and their rosters is bigger than ours, so they're going to have a lot more guys standing over there on the sideline than we will. So. They're, the perception of them having more depth because of their numbers, that's something that's been talked about already. And I think the thing that you'll see out of our guys that they'll go play their hearts out. And I think, we have as good a chance as anybody to go win.
I would imagine one person who's going to be real excited about going back to play in Texas is going to be Billy Pullen. Right. I haven't got to see him yet, but I can imagine when he got that call, he was really excited to be able to have some of his folks be able to come and watch him in person in his home state. So that will wrap up the football portion of our show. Again, Wolves fell in the MACCC Championship, but we've got one more game this upcoming Saturday. It'll be against Navarro College. I believe Navarro is ranked number 10 in the nation. They'll face off against the number 6 Co-Lin Wolves. That'll be the final ranking for Co-Lin. They'll finish 6th in the nation. Highest ranking in quite some time, I do believe, Coach. So, again, just congratulations on a fantastic season, and it's going to be a lot of fun to be able to honor and kind of reward the guys for such a fantastic season. So Stick with us through this break. We'll have head basketball coach David Sanders come and talk about the men's games against Delgado, where they won back before the Thanksgiving break, and then we'll talk about their upcoming games this week as well, too. Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through the break. And joining me now is head men's basketball coach David Sanders. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And Coach, obviously we're going to spin it back a little bit. Go back to before Thanksgiving break. You played against Delgado. It had a little bit of a different feeling to it because you played them at the start. You played them 12 days earlier. Then you go and over to their place and play them, and you get another win and you beat them 87-81. Talk about how the guys played in that one.
Well, I thought we kind of was real sluggish coming out, with the trip, and everybody pretty much seemed like they were starting to break early. So we didn't play well on defense. I think we got the job done, which is always good. But the guys, we were very disappointed with our defensive effort. Now that doesn't take anything away from Delgado because they're a really good team, and they had some guys out the first time we played them, and those guys were back. And I think Collier Wildman had 24 on us. He had a really good game, and they give us some trouble. So we have some good things on film that we saw that we need to clean up. And I like playing a regional opponent because it gives us a really good look going into conference play.
And despite a admittedly slow start and not great defensive play, or feel like you got off to a little sluggish start. For the first time all year at halftime, you actually had the lead. You were up 48-39 at halftime. We jokingly talked about those first 4 games. It was a constant thing that you were kind of having to come trail from behind at half. What's the message going to the guys at halftime with a lead? Something that you haven't had to experience yet, but glad that you finally got to experience it at that point.
Well, it was actually, of course, a welcome change for us to have the lead. I'm one of those type of coaches that if we're not playing to the best of our ability, I don't even worry about the score. It's more so about a feel of how we're playing. And, having the lead at halftime actually surprised me because I thought we weren't playing very well. But, Delgado came out and scratched back in the second half, and we just had to find a way to grind it out. And luckily, Devin Carter got going down the stretch for us, and Emmanuel James got a couple big offensive rebounds, and Ishmael Rashid played big on the glass for us as well. So. And
obviously, you get outscored in the second half, 42-39, but with such a large lead at halftime, it felt like the Dolphins just weren't able to overcome that. You didn't mention, Devin Carter led all scorers, not just the Wolves, but led all scorers with 26 points. Another game where, if you looked at his stat line, maybe not the best night shooting wise. He was 8 of 24 from the field, but I think what really stands out is he shot 80% from the line. He was 8 of 10. And that just kind of seems to be a spot where he really just kind of shines. If you look at the last 2, I think against them, he's gone 19 times, and I think he was 11 of 13 at our place against them and 8 of 10, so 19 for 23. When you're shooting that well from the line against an opponent, you're bound to have some high-scoring nights. But 26 points from Devin really kind of led the way, and I think you're really starting to see him really kind of start flourishing, despite the fact that maybe he's not shooting as well as you'd like him to.
Yeah, he hadn't. We've been discussing it and trying to find ways to get him going, but he admittedly so hadn't had a great start to the season shooting. But he has had a great year going to the line. I think he's shooting close to 90 from the line. So, shooting is just one of those things, man. I told him about Klay Thompson's 4 for 68 slump that he came out of with a 60-something point game. So, he just got to keep shooting and keep plugging. He's getting good looks. The one thing I told him that helps is just staying confident and believing in yourself. And, once he gets those looks to fall, we're going to be pretty hard to beat.
And another guy that had another big game, you talked about him a second ago, was Emmanuel James. E-Man gets his third double-double of the season, second straight. He had 12 points and 11 rebounds, and I really think you're starting to see him really just kind of understand and grasp things. He came in as a freshman. I think you said he's a little bit raw, but we really like what he brings to the table, and I think you're really starting to see that come out in him.
Yeah, he's extremely raw, and me and E-Man had a long conversation, watched some film, and he actually had one of his worst games, according to him. He just really didn't feel like he had it offensively. He kind of struggled, with his movement on defense, and we just kind of cleaned some things up. But I told him for you to have a game that really wasn't a great game, you still have a double-double is a good sign. So, he's one of those guys that he was here a whole Thanksgiving break. He didn't want to go anywhere. And he's really works at his craft, so he's only scratched the surface of his potential, and we're really gonna need him coming down the stretch.
And there were some other guys that really stood out to me. You saw Kason Saunders get his first action of the year. I know he had been dealing with a little bit of a banged up injury on his leg, so he scored 11 points, gave you double digits off the bench. You had Avon Johnson with 10 and 7. He's been flirting with double doubles all year, it feels like. And then we saw Ishmael Rashid. Ish hasn't been scoring as well as I think you thought he was going to coming in. He had 7 points, but where he really stood out was on the boards. He led all players with 14 boards. I think those were 3 guys who were probably real key to the success against Delgado in that game.
Yeah, Ish, we've been talking to him about his one of his greatest attributes is offensive rebound. I think he rebounded really well on the glass. Now, he left a few layups out there that would have had him a double-double. But he played really well, and he attacked the glass for us, and that's one of the things we've been really talking to him about. Avon is a really solid player. He's a complimentary guy. He shoots the ball well. We're trying to get him to do more catch and shoot because he wants to put it on the floor a lot, which is okay, but I think he's one of our better catch and shoot guys, and he's always on the glass rebounding. And Kason has been one we've really been missing. Kason and our backup point guard, Will Grayson, the 2 guys we got back against Delgado, and both of them played major minutes for us. Kason probably averaged 17 a game in our preseason stuff, so he's one that can really shoot the ball. He rebounds well. He got length, and he can switch out on guards. So he gives us some more versatility back on that back line. So having him back is really big, and we're going to need those guys. Anytime
you get key players back who just add to your depth, that's always a good thing. And, as a team, we've talked about the fact that maybe, as a whole, team hasn't always shot as well as you would like them to. But I think in this game, you kind of saw them a little round into more better form than what we've seen them in the past 4 games. They shot 42% from the field and 75% from the free throw line. So anytime I think when you're shooting that well and you're playing defense as well as the guys seem to do, it's definitely a winning combination for basketball.
Yeah, I really think that we have not played. I mean, if you want to put on a scale of 1 to 10, we probably played a 4 offensively this year, and we're still averaging almost 80 points a game. So I don't think points are going to be our problem. You know, right now we're really focusing on the defensive end because we got a lot of guys that's used to putting the ball in the hole. And, you know, one thing about playing basketball, if you play the right way, you'll find points, man. But it's just all about selling out on the defensive end and being a better defensive team. And, you know, that's one of the things we're really harping on right now.
And Coach, we'll talk about the ones coming up. You've got 5 games left till the Christmas break. You've got 2 coming up this week. The first one's going to be, actually both of yours are going to be at home this week. First one's going to be this upcoming Wednesday. You're going to face off against the Baton Rouge Post-Grad Academy team. And then you've got Southern Shreveport on Friday, December 1st. What are you expecting out of both of those groups?
Well, Baton Rouge Post-Grad is one of those teams that really, you know, they go anywhere and play anybody, really athletic young guys. And, you know, they've already played, I think, Hines, maybe Holmes, a couple other teams. So, you know, they're one of those teams that are really going to give us a good challenge coming in here. And Southern Shreveport is somebody we pretty much played every year, and they're in our region as well. And they're just so scrappy, so good offensively that, you know, they really give you a good look. And so, you know, I'm looking forward to those 2 games. And, you know, it's gonna be a tough match for both games. But I think that it's going to give us a chance to have some really good looks going into this upcoming conference season.
All right, Coach, thanks for joining us. That'll wrap up the men's basketball segment of this week's show. Again, 2 opportunities to catch the Wolves at home as they'll play Baton Rouge Post-Grad Academy on Wednesday, November 30th, and then they'll play Southern Shreveport on Friday, December 1st. Stick with us through the break. Coming up next, we'll have women's head basketball coach Dr. Britta Stephens talking about their games from before the Thanksgiving break and the 2 they've got coming up this week. Welcome back in. Thanks for sticking with us through this break. And joining me now is our head women's basketball coach, Dr. Britta Stephens. Coach, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
And Coach, obviously we're talking about things that happened a couple of weeks ago, so we're having to dial it back just a little bit after having the week off from Thanksgiving and all those kind of things. But we'll go back to, you got to go back to familiar surroundings, got to go back to Southwest and play in the Southwest Coca-Cola Classic. And you played 2 games there, went 1-1. We'll talk about the first one. First one was back on Monday the 13th. You lost to LSU Eunice 79-58. Just, you know, and I know we talked about it after that game. You felt like girls just kind of came out and played a little flat during that one.
Yeah, you know, I think that's the worst game we've played all season. We came out flat. We couldn't score. We had a chance to be up 6-0. We won the tip. We missed a layup. We got a defensive stop. We missed another layup. We got another defensive stop, and we missed a short pull-up, and we could have been up 6-0, and we just couldn't finish. And so that hurt us. You know, I think the 1 o'clock start, that's something that's different. I like playing in the Southwest tournament because it is 2 games, and it's close. But the 1 o'clock tip is different. We have to get up earlier. We have to shoot earlier. We have to eat earlier. Everything about it is different. And so I think that messed with us a little bit. I told him at halftime, I said, I don't think you were focused and I don't think you were ready. You don't miss the first layup of the game if you're focused and ready. So that was tough, you know, coming out and not having a chance to go up 6-0 and then we can't score and then they score and then we just struggled to score all night. We just couldn't. I think we shot 28% for the game and it was just atrocious.
Yeah, if you look at the box score, you trailed 19-9 after the first quarter and 38-24 at half. Now you did come out and played better in the second half, but we're still outscored 41-34 in the second half. So overall, it kind of feels like a game you know, okay, we didn't play well, just flush it and forget it kind of thing.
Yeah, and flush it and forget it. Flush it and learn from it. And that's when I keep telling Alexis in the office, I'm like, I'd like to play them again. I'd like to get that one back because they are a good team. They are not that much better than we are. That should have been a 2 or 3 point game. We should have been nip and tuck with them. We did play much better in the second half, and that was something at halftime I had to kind of go in there and light them up at halftime and go, y'all, we're not playing well. Up to this point, they had played so hard and so relentless, and we didn't have that fight in the first half. And I don't know, was it because of an early day? Did we underestimate them? him. You never know what happens. But when we came back out in the second half, we did have way more fight and we did play a lot better. I did not think we were very good at all defensively the whole day. We didn't shoot it well and we weren't very good defensively, and that's a recipe for disaster. If you're not going to shoot it well, you've got to get defensive stops, and we didn't do either, and that was kind of our downfall in that game.
I think if you look at your leading scorers, you had Zamaya Brown with 9, and then you had Kayla Howard, Kirsten Haynes, and LaShanti Payne all with 8. So, anytime that you don't have a player getting in double digits, it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle.
Yeah.
But then you bounce back the next day. On Tuesday, you come and play Southern Shreveport. Again, I believe it was at the same time, that 1 p.m. start. And you trailed 15-12 after the first quarter, but you had a 10-point run to close out the first quarter. I think really kind of sparked everything for you.
Yeah, the spark was at the end of that second quarter, right before halftime. We had a 10-point spark, and again, it was defensive. We came out, we changed defenses, we subbed. Zamaya Brown comes in. She's a great spark for us off the bench. She's able to get steals and help us push the ball out and get some, easy layups, and that's what happened at the end of that quarter. We got 4 or 5 steals in a row, and we got some easy layups, and we go in like up 10 at the half. Again, we struggled to score that night. That afternoon, we did not shoot it well. We played a lot better defensively, but we didn't shoot it well. So those sparks off the bench, those steals and those defensive stops and those layups really helped us get ahead in that game.
Had a big swing in the second quarter where you outscored Southern Shreveport 22-8, held the 11-point lead at halftime, 34-23, and then outscored them 22-16 in the second half. So probably, I think right now, easily a season low in points allowed in 39. You've got to feel great about how well you played defensively throughout that match.
Yeah, I do feel good about how well we played defensively. I don't feel good about what was the final, 56-39. 56 points. It's hard to win games when you only score 56 points. If we can keep people to 39, we can win, but the scoring is a concern for me, and that's something we've talked about all along. Defense is going to be the calling card for this team. We're going to have to get stops, and we're going to have to use our defense to generate offense to help us score more points. That's probably the lowest amount of points other than the LSU Eunice game that we've scored all season. I mean, we play Southern Arkansas here and scored 90-something points. So, points had not been a struggle for us up until these 2 games. Defense was a huge part of that game. Jamia Smith, she's a sophomore kid that we talk about a lot. She took 3 charges, and I can't even imagine how many steals and layups that she got in that game. She was kind of our person who really stepped up big in that Southern Shreveport game and gave us that spark to get us over the hump.
And your leading scorers in that one were Kayla Howard and Ashanti Fleming, both with 10, both vitally important at the guard positions. Then you had Kirsten Haynes and Jamia Smith, both with 7. And that's kind of, I think that's something you've seen all season. It hadn't been just one girl that's kind of studying. It's been, one will get 10 here, one will get, like Pumpkin got 31 against Southern Arkansas, those kind of things. You'll see those familiar names be in the top list, but maybe not the top scorer, and you see a lot of your girls affecting the games in different ways than just scoring.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be one of the strengths of this team is we don't have one particular person who we've got to go to every night. Yes, so we have 2 or 3 core players who we need to be in double figures every night, but we need those 2 or 3 to be in double figures, and then we need other kids who are coming off the bench to contribute, and we need to be even. We need to have 4 or 5 people with 10, 12, 14 points a night to help us be successful, and I think that can be one of our strengths because it's very hard to guard. It's easy to guard one person. It's very hard to figure out and guard 4 and 5 and 6 people every night. So that in our defense, that's going to be how we win games.
And then coming up, you've got 3 games left. We're going to talk about 2 of them here coming up this week. 3 games left before the break, we should say, before the long holiday break. But
Love JUCO basketball.
Your next 2, you've got you're on the road at Baton Rouge on Tuesday, November 28th, and then you'll come home and you get to host Southern Shreveport. That's going to be a doubleheader there. You guys and girls both playing on that one. Y'all have them at 12. Guys will play again guys will follow up at 2. But what are you expecting out of the Bears on the road on Tuesday and then coming back home against the Jaguars on Friday?
Well, I think it's tough. We've been off. We played Monday and Tuesday. We went home on Thursday. We practiced and stuff. We came back at the end of the week and started practicing. But when you take a week off, you're not in game shape. So that's going to be tough. The conditioning wise, I've told Coach Holt, we're going to have to probably play more people than we usually play just because of the conditioning. However, Baton Rouge did the same thing. They played. They took some time off. So it's not like they've been playing. It'll be similar for both teams. Traveling on the road is hard. This one's going to be easier than some games on the road because we've played 2 games at BRCC. We opened our season in their tournament, so they know what their gym looks like. They know what the locker room's like. All those things make a big difference and everything. They're a young team. They're all freshmen. They're very similar to us in the fact that they don't have a lot of game experience and stuff, so I think it'll be a good matchup for us. It should be a good game. I hope we can come out and score. I think if we can come out and score, we should be okay. We've made some adjustments and some tweaks since the last time we played and added a few new things, new wrinkles, so hopefully that'll help us win the game.
All right. Well, thanks, Coach. Thanks for joining us. And, again, as a reminder for everybody, a lot of action coming up this week as we wrap up the show. It'll start with the Lady Wolves on the road at Baton Rouge on Tuesday. Then we'll come back home with the men playing Baton Rouge Post-Grad Academy on Wednesday, November 29th. And then Friday, we'll have the doubleheader basketball game here at home against Southern Shreveport at 12-2. And then we'll end the week with the bowl game for the football team. That'll be the final football game of the year. Started all the way back in August and we're still playing in December, but it's going to be a great reward for the guys. Tune in to all of our social media for all the action and reports on all of that stuff, and we'll give you all the links for all the social media channels, including all of the streams and all of that kind of stuff. As always, I'm Kevin Kaiser, Sports Information Coordinator here at Co-Lin. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week.